welcome to that boom bap breakfast right here on Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show, and I go by the name of the Ear Doctor and your host today. We got Dr. Jared Ball, we got Burn It Down Kim Brown, and we got Kamal K. Franklin. Let's get it, y'all.
What's up? What's up? Hey, who produced that track? I like that track.
You said what?
Who was it Isaac Hayes? Is that from Isaac Hayes?
I found this track on the internet.
No, that's something though. Somebody in the chat will let us know. But what's up, everybody? Good morning.
What's that shirt? What's that shirt? Let me see that shirt.
Just letting everybody know.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Okay.
I need one of those too.
This is how it works when your wife dresses you.
I don't need one of those.
You should admit it. A lot of husbands out here need their wives to be dressing them.
Oh, I'm definitely one of them. It's not safe to let me on my own. What's up, Jackie?
Did I come in here talking about people need their wives to be beating them? What?
Dressing.
Dressing.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on the day. Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
No, they did something needs to.
Wow.
Lord.
Yeah. Hey, no judgment. You're right. No judgment. Some people might need that. Might need a little bit
getting
of that.
your Costco packs.
A little
I get it.
I'm sorry.
3 packs.
Jackie's just projecting first thing in the morning.
It's me.
What's up, black people? How y'all feeling on this Tuesday, October the 13th?
Good.
2021?
Aight.
Hey, what other show can you come to and you're doing your hair while you're
hosting?
Talking about spanking.
This is
Costco.
the blinkiest, blackest morning show you
morning.
The realest morning ever.
Listen.
Bro.
There's a lot of sisters and brothers in the chat right now untwisting their twists for the day. So I know I'm in good company.
Word. Rock out, y'all.
See you, Ear Doctor.
All right, thank you, Ear Doctor. But hey, if you all don't mind, speaking of production, I did want to ask you all about something that I saw yesterday. First thing here in the morning. No, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
This is
Me and you,
nice,
Jackie. I was
light.
there with the uh-oh.
I don't know why I should not elicit an uh-oh. It should be no. This is good morning time.
No, it's not you. It's the I want to ask you about something. That's always like the what?
Oh no. This is very simple, and it emanates even from what I was just saying a moment ago, asking the Ear Doctor about production. So I watched the Math Hoffa podcast where they break down a lot about the battle rap world and hip hop in general. But they in this brief just 2 minutes here, they asked Ninth Wonder about his top 10 producers, and I'm very interested in his answers and what you all think. So just some light work in the morning.
Be ever, and it could be right now. I'll do ever. Okay. Gamble and Huff.
Ooh, that's what?
I would have never expected that.
What? Do y'all even know who Gamble and Huff is?
Is this producers of all black music, or is this rap?
Yeah, no, he was asked top 10 producers of all time, and this is how he chose to answer. So that's how I thought it was interesting.
With the braids.
So he starts with Gamble and Huff.
Leon Huff and Kenny.
Oh, Gamble and Huff. Oh, okay.
Michael Jackson.
Right, Gamble and Huff.
Yeah, well,
the Philly sound.
Okay. But yeah,
Off the wall, I think. Right, that was in Philly International.
Michael Jackson.
They're responsible for the theme song of Soul Train. Okay. But all of the soul stuff that came out of Philly in the 70s,
all that
is Gamble and Huff. Wow. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Salute.
That's 2. Yeah. Dr. Dre.
3.
Dilla.
4. Definitely Dilla.
Rest in peace. DJ Premier.
5.
Pete Rock.
6.
Pharrell.
7.
Timbaland.
It's getting tight.
Oh, the RZA.
RZA.
9. Last one.
9.
And the reason why I believe me, Pete, Dilla, Madlib, all of us are here is for the Q-Tip.
And Q-Tip.
Yeah.
So that was it. I thought that was a very strong top 10. I was fascinated that he started with Gamble and Huff and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And I just thought, we got hip hop and music heads in here, and I thought that was just a great, little.
I got
opening.
one. Is this controversial? I mean, I know.
Here it comes.
No. This is a real discussion one. P. Diddy.
Shut up, Kamal.
As a producer, no.
Just shut up, man. You know good and goddamn well P. Diddy didn't go into a nobody studio and push no buttons. He didn't pick up no instruments and play no notes. Come on now.
You were trolling
to produce.
You
said I'm a troll.
This is what happens when you let trolls become hosts. Kamal just be messing with us, man.
The troll is Kamal.
You knew what it was going to be when he said, "Is this going to be controversial?" You knew it was going to be controversial.
He had a squad that he had producing for him. But I thought that was a strong list, and I couldn't think of anybody I thought needed to be bumped off in favor of someone else. I didn't think there were any egregious omissions from that list, and so I just thought that was interesting, Anyway.
I thought it was great that I mean, and I think that reflects his respect for the technical aspects of music, of production, but also the impact of the old school stuff that he started that list. I agree with you, Jared, with Gamble and Huff. That is, I mean,
that was impressive.
So soul, R&B, whatever, neo soul, all that kind of stuff, those genres don't exist almost without the contribution of the Philly sound, from Gamble and Huff that touched everything. So I got mad respect for that. I
thought I was impressed.
Yeah, did he say Quincy Jones?
No,
he did not.
No, he did not. That was interesting.
That's a good one, actually.
That was
trying to.
All of mine are. All of
mine. Redeem yourself.
All of them are. He says.
It's just continually disappointing, and this is not a slight against Ninth Wonder or Math Off or nobody, but no. Where's the women producers? Where's the Missy Elliott's? Where's the Patrice Rushers? Where's the Angela Winbushes?
Patrice Rushen.
You know what I mean? Like women.
Who else did she produce besides herself? Though Patrice Rushen was a huge musician.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved her. She was one of my first crushes. I know that's not a big deal for you guys, but it's a big deal for me. But who else did she produce? Who did she produce?
Herself. Look at
does that get her in the top 10? No.
Huh?
I mean, if it's about producing yourself, then my man Prince is in the top 10. I know he's not a woman, but depends on what day, what he wears.
Depends on what you want him to be.
Yeah. It's Prince. My name is Prince, and I am funky. What?
Yeah.
That's the top 10.
Controversy. Am I a boy? Am I a girl? Controversy.
That's
the
top 10.
I mean, Kim, that's interesting. But I would have to ask the same thing. Like, who on that list should be knocked off for who? I mean,
I don't know about knock off. I mean, I'm okay with the list. Like his list was legit to me. It was just a personal observation of when these lists are usually constructed, there's usually no women producers on the list. You know what I mean? And Missy might be the one that gets added, but yeah. So that's it. It was
but I think that's a good point, and I think maybe, and this may be unfair because I don't know enough about the details, but I think Missy probably loses producer credits to Timbaland.
I think people don't read the line no more.
I didn't listen to her. Go ahead. Yeah,
she's all over them. Well, obviously her own stuff. She produced Aaliyah's music, 1 in a Million album, and then the self-titled Aaliyah album before Aaliyah died. And I know Missy has lots lots of other producer credits that I'm just unaware of. But yeah, I think you're right that it's a lot of stuff that Missy perhaps collaborated with Timbaland on just gets credited solely to Timbaland. So.
I mean, that's anyway.
Who's Dilla? Who's Dilla produced that? Name me some.
Are you serious?
No,
are you serious?
I'm just asking why he's top 10. Why top 10?
Called Quest, The Roots, Pharaoh Monch, De La Soul, Black Star. I mean, I that's just off the top of my head.
Who did Dilla produce with a straight face?
No. I was like,
Dilla is top 10 to me.
Really?
Dilla is top 10 to
15? 15?
You got to think about, again, you're not, again, I don't think you even know how many songs you've nodded your head to that he produced.
But, I absolutely don't know all of this information about the music I listen to.
Oh, man.
Somebody said Teddy Riley. He wasn't on the top 10.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's top 10, but I think he should get an honorable mention. Sure.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about like impact on the industry, on the music, on the art form across generations, that's one thing. But I think if we're just talking about like volume of what people produce or number of, you know what I mean, that's a different thing. And that's, see, there I go over analyzing things again. I can't help myself, and I haven't even had any coffee.
Oh wow!
I have not had coffee, Jacqueline.
See, this is what I live with here.
Wow,
it's a big problem. I'm back on the coffee, and now I'm off it this morning, and it's problematic. I don't know, but I like the fact that he let off with Gamble and Huff. Gamble and Huff, like anyway, I go through periods where I revisit certain artists and their works, and I've been deep into Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and the Keep It Real. What's the name of the damn song where Teddy Pendergrass laid out his lady for like 5 minutes for being a bougie bitch, and told her to get her shit together and keep it real. You can't be looking down on Larry and Bobby who live in the lower development homes. Tell her, Daddy, tell your woman stop being such a bougie broad.
Can we ever are there any Teddy voices in R&B anymore? Do we hear that style? Can we hear what is that, a baritone or whatever that was? Some bass in your voice?
Yeah.
Does auto-tune do bass?
God, no. Screaming a love song at you, seductive screaming. Take them off. Okay.
Take it off.
Yes.
Turn out the lights. And what we can do.
Let's let the ear doctor come back in here and save us from Kamal. I was going to say from ourselves, but this is strictly from Kamal.
Nah. I like the list. I would have took Dr. Dre off. He uses too many. He uses too many other people's stuff. Like he samples everybody else's music, and then
the art form in itself, though, ear doctor, you wouldn't.
I agree.
It's art.
I mean, I would put, like Kamal said, I would put Quincy Jones on there and take Dr. Dre off. And I like Havoc from Mobb Deep. That's one of my favorite producers.
I agree with that one. I like that one.
But what you say, Kim?
Sampling in itself is an art form, yeah?
It is, no doubt. But I mean, taking somebody's whole "Let Me Ride," I mean, the whole song, and just freaking it a little bit.
Dre's done a little more than that, man.
Maybe not.
Really? That's messed up, man. That's that Jersey East Coast.
Let me ride.
This is how rap beats get started.
Rolling in the expo.
What's the brothers that did Chic? The disco music.
Nile
Rodgers. He's a beast too. He's definitely a beast.
That's a good point.
Because you think about dance music. Dance music is some of the biggest soul music throughout the world. So
and he always hand in pretty much everything.
Exactly.
Rick James, bitch.
That's right, Rick James.
I really saw the documentary. That joint is hilarious.
It is.
Hey, and Kim, I would throw Sheila E in there for production, just for the beats you make.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I try to. Look at Jared's face.
my shout out goes to Eric Sermon and also Pharoah Monch, who's underrated and underappreciated as a producer.
He
But,
produces?
you know,
Now we
absolutely.
just give a shout out.
He produced his whole first album. He produced the joint that they yanked out because of the Godzilla hook. Womp 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 womp. Get the fuck up. He did all that. He produced a lot of that stuff. He produced a lot of his music, actually.
Okay. He's like Patrice Rushen then. All right, well, let's get to the next.
Wow.
Lord.
Remix.
Let's go. What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all are tuned into Black Power Media. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure y'all go to patreon.com and drop some change in the bucket so we can keep this movement going. I hope y'all are ready for a great week. I definitely am. Also, I got to keep reminding y'all. Let me turn it down a little bit. I got to keep reminding y'all that this Sunday is going to be crazy. It is going to be the Sundays where we have the pre-battle before, well, Big Daddy Kane and Karis One going at it, but I'm throwing some 80s music on, so we're going to rock out. So make sure y'all there for that. But anyway, let me get to Black Power Media. In case you didn't know, I was trying to give y'all a little viewing of what's going down here on Black Power Media with one of our shows. So one of our shows is very dope for the kids, and I wanted to put y'all onto it and check out the Uncle Devin show Saturday mornings. So check this out real quick, and we're going to do it like DS.
Anything that starts with the B. So now we talked about the body being the first percussion instrument. So now I want to talk about other instruments that we created using the natural environment. We found wood and tree trunks, and we used animal skin, rope, and metal, and we created our own instruments. And I have a book that shares a lot of these instruments, and I'm going to go to one of those pages in the book. We're going to go to, just to tell you a little bit about it, I want you to check this out.
Into the ABCs of percussion, Uncle Devin's ABCs of percussion. Hey everybody, let's have some fun with percussion instruments that includes the drums. This is a brand new book for all the boys and girls about the ABCs and music from around the world. It describes a percussion instrument for each letter in the alphabet. That's 26 different instruments we hope you won't forget. With beautiful illustrations and an audio CD too. Just grab a book and enjoy as I share my book with you. This is
I'm just saying, a very dope. Yo, I'm just saying, it's a very dope show. Bring your kids, bring yourself, learn about drums, learn about history, learn about art history, learn about a whole lot of stuff going on. You have a great time. So check it out Saturdays right here on Black Power Media, the Uncle Devin Show. Now let's get back to doing what we do on the morning show. Yeah.
Man, Saturdays got real dope around here real fast, man. With the morning show and then Warrior class later in the afternoon.
Can I just say that Uncle Devin shit slaps? Uncle Devin show slaps, dog. I have watched 2 weeks of Uncle Devin, and I'm sitting there like a kid, like, yay! It's so good for children, and I have no children, and I very much enjoy it. It's like Black Sesame Street.
That's a good one. Yes. I used to, it was good when I had my children as an excuse to take them to see him live. And you know, because I felt the same way. I had as much fun, and I used to front like it was for my kids. And I was like, this is for me. This is for me.
Uncle Devin's really good. He's really good at what he does.
Are you high when you're watching, Kim?
Yeah, I am watching.
I said, are you high when you're watching?
Oh, now that's a thought. No,
Yeah.
I might like it even more. Like, the kids from next door, come on over here, kids. Come on, let's play the drums.
Word. Make sure y'all check that out, though. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Right on here, Doctor. And I'm definitely looking forward to the pre-fight show on Sundays, the KRS versus Kane in the 80s joint. I'm looking forward to that too. So
no, you're not. Everybody knows it's a bad matchup. It's a bad. I mean, it's good because you just want to hear some good old songs. But the matchup,
I don't really think it's a bad matchup. I mean, I do think KRS is unbeatable, but I think watching Big Daddy Kane, you know, I like Kane a lot. That's my guy. So it's even in defeat, it will be a great evening.
Because defeat is assured.
I just think KRS is a bridge too far, pun intended. You know,
ain't no half stepping, Jared.
Well done, well done.
Half stepping to me. They want to get some, but I'm the king. So you know the Outcast is one of my favorite rap songs of all time.
Absolutely. And Raw, I still like I did here. I can still do Raw. You know, at least the first verse all the way through. I mean, that was like Kane. I've seen Kane. Well, I've seen them both, but I saw Kane live back in the day with Scoob and Scrap, and I think that was his dances, right? Yeah, that was his dances, right? And I mean, all of that. I mean, so you know, it was, you know, but KRS, man. Anyway, I know we got some stories, we got some news, we got some globe spinning to do. Jackie has laced us, so let's go ahead and do that. Hit that spin and come on back. Jackie, if you don't mind, before you get started, I'd like to bring some breaking news that I forgot to mention already.
You bet. Yeah.
Big news. This is big too. Breaking news. If we hit 20,000 subscribers, Sister May has promised to step out briefly from behind the scenes and wave quietly on screen to the people. And then she said if we hit 50,000, she will actually come on and say hello. And then when we hit 100,000, we actually get a May interview.
Hey,
y'all get on that. Get on that.
Those are attainable metrics. We can do that. That's doable.
So for no other reason,
we do a nude episode.
Damn, come on. What the fuck? Man? What's happening with you today?
That's not being promised.
Nobody wants to.
First of all, Kamau we've already skipped the Kamau topless dance at 10,000 subscribers.
Right. Kamau, get on that. Come on, we overdue.
I want to see all that.
Yup. Come on, break it out.
I won't speak for anyone else, but I will go ahead. I'll take a break. Dad
Y'all know I am team dad bods. I love it. Come on, Kamau. Don't deny. Don't deny us.
You get up to 20,000. I'll do the whole episode in nude by myself.
But see, we're not asking for all that.
You will be by yourself.
Not all of it.
we could just stick with the shirtless and keep it right there. That's a nice balance.
All this time.
Give y'all those.
Like at the Go-Go show.
For being freaky all this time. See?
Like at the Go-Go show where the front line says to the percussion, you by yourself.
Come on, Kamau. You show them how 60-year-olds is doing it out here, man.
60.
I'm just playing.
Kamau, go do a little bad twerk.
Get my ticket to DC right now.
Oh, my God.
The Brooklyn cast, they show up at your door and talk about what's what. Anyway.
60.
I didn't mean to drag us all the way down there. This was
my fault.
It wasn't you. That was Kamau.
For the May. For the May. That's what we need.
People don't believe she exists. People don't believe
for the May.
They don't believe that she exists. They might not. So 20 grand, hit 20, and she will, like I said, she will
peek her head in.
Yeah. And then 50 grand, you actually get to hear her say hello. I'm like, so, and then 100,000 subscribers, and we get to sit down and interview with her.
Is it me you're looking for? Oh, shit. Nobody put little Lionel Richie on there. Was Lionel Richie? No. I just
I think this
I was
this world is
We-
they're
we-
on
we don't-
Adele. This
we don't
world is
talk
doing
about
Adele.
Mercury in retrograde hit
Especially
Russ
after the
now
Rick
hard.
James documentary. We don't
I
talk
was
about
just gonna
Lionel Richie
say,
no more.
Jackie.
We
I
don't
was
talk
just
about
gonna
Lionel.
say, Jackie, let them know. The only reason we got
No.
Hello is because they were trying to shut down Rick James.
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh,
we don't
Lord.
talk
Is
about.
that
we
the
don't-
only?
we don't mention
Lionel
that
had some
name
talent. Lionel had some talent. The Commodores.
It's not a
Rick-
question of do they have talent. It's a question of who lets them be known to the world.
They
It's
weren't
not a-
pushing the Commodores. They pushed.
Lionel Richie.
Well, yeah. After he left the Commodores, what was left? I mean, he wanted.
But you gotta see. Come on and see the
Yes,
documentary.
he has. He
Did
saw
you-
it.
Oh, Rick, oh
Did
yeah,
you
I
skip
saw
that
it,
part?
yeah.
I feel like you fell asleep at that part.
I saw what they said, but come on. I mean, but at that point, they needed to push Rick out because Rick was too high in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Slapping dicks in people's faces. What do you
He
think the
did
record
do
company gonna
that.
do? What's the record
He
company
did
gonna
do that. He did do that,
What's
and
the
that
record
was
company
when they
gonna do?
said, and that's when they said, get
Lionel
Lionel Richie.
I know. If my man slapped me in the head with a dick, I'm gonna be like, get Lionel Richie in here quick. I'm not
That's
mad
a good
at
point.
him.
I
Not
did
mad
leave
at
that
him.
part out.
Yeah, you can't hit me with your dick and think there's not gonna be any consequences. What?
It'd be way more consequences than me calling for Lionel Richie. Trust that. Somebody's not making out of that office. One of us is
fix my
not getting
lighting.
out.
It's like a star is coming through or some
Yeah,
shit.
you
like
look.
that
I don't know
right
what's
now.
going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's
I
going on.
mean,
I was like, I never had this angle of like light.
That's the magic mic.
Ooh, filter.
Oh,
wow.
get ready.
Come on,
It's
sir.
either that or I'm turning into Jesus. I'm not sure what the hell is happening back here.
Oh,
It's like,
boy.
it's like a star coming through. Or something.
Take
Oh,
the
boy.
Lord's name in vain.
Oh
bad.
boy, she's clapping. You better
My
watch
bad.
out now because you know
It's
what
all right.
happens next.
All this and still no news, though. Still no news.
Nah, here we go. Jackie's about to save us. She's about to save
Come on
us.
here, Jacqueline.
Ooh,
Come
I
on.
don't know if I can save any of y'all, especially Kamal.
Bring some respect to this program, Jackie, please.
But
Yeah.
this is not respectable at all. What is happening with the funding for HBCUs that was supposed to be included in the Biden administration's Build Back Better plan, and according to the sources on the Hill, $45 billion was initially included in the spending package plan, the human infrastructure bill, if you will. But it wasn't Republicans that slashed the funding for HBCUs. It was
No.
House Democrats.
What? No way.
It was House Democrats. So so there's this big long note here where I guess they're trying to save face for Biden, like, oh, he tried.
Oh, Jesus. He
So-
tried to give y'all $2,000 in stimulus. Just tried because couldn't get it together.
Right. So there are a couple of points here that tries to explain why the $45 billion that was allocated to HBCUs that was originally in the bill disappeared. And they say that it's Senate Republicans and Democrats, Manchin and Sinema assured that $45 billion was cut. And interestingly, now we understand that the Republicans were not going to agree to most of what was in that infrastructure bill, the human infrastructure bill, just like they didn't agree to everything that was in the physical infrastructure bill. That's why that bill is only $1.5 trillion over 10 years, as opposed to, I think it was originally $3 trillion over 10 years. So we understand how that goes, but this is really like the first thing that has been exposed that has been cut from this bill, from the human infrastructure bill. And as I was reading through this, I couldn't help but think about that meeting at the beginning of Biden's administration with those so-called Black leaders. let me stop because I
No,
shouldn't be
go there,
providing
Jackie.
commentary on the news. Let me just present you with the news.
No, Jackie, go in there. Call that shit out because Joe Biden started talking to them people like they was his children. Okay.
So Representative Bobby Scott, who is the chairman of the House Education and Labor, said, I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with anything in the budget that's within our jurisdiction. And there's a point in here that they talk about, mixing the funding for HBCUs with the funding for minority serving institutions, which I think is a deflection, but that's a whole nother discussion. But listen here, I'm gonna drop this in the chat for y'all so you can have it and cuss at it at will. But look, at the beginning of Biden's administration, all of these Black folks got on a Zoom call with this dude and practically begged him up. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Mr. President, we're so glad you won, and we're glad that we threw our weight behind you, and we know that you're going to work for us, and here are the things that we please, massa, hope you gonna do. And then Joseph Biden's response, and I wasn't Kamala Harris on that call too, Kim?
I think I'm thinking about a different call. I'm thinking about the call that Sherilyn Ifill and Al Sharpton and Mark Morial was on. I think this was before the election, though.
Okay, you're right. It was before the election, and they were all just like, please, Massa, would you these are the things that we would like for you to do for us. Please, Massa, we love you. And Joseph Biden, that man talked to those people like they had no right to ask for shit. He was extremely disrespectful to them. No,
wasn't that after the election? My bad, because my memory is saying
call was after the election.
Because my memory is saying that was my point. That's why we shouldn't have been supporting him in the first place, because you knew this was how he was going to be. But anyway,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I just, I look at this and I look at the fact that, understanding that these fights over the line items in the budget are going to happen, and it's going to happen with everything, but it is indicative of the contempt that Biden has for Black folks, that he's not even fighting for this. You understand? He didn't fight for the votes that he and the Democrats demanded that Black folks give them to get rid of Trump. So he ain't fighting for this. And I'm not surprised. I just think it is newsworthy to point out that he rolled over on this so quick, so easy, and this was the first thing that was gone from this budget proposal.
Just to jump in quick, so it was Jim Crow Joe was December 10th, I think, or 11th. So it was after the election, but before the inauguration.
Okay, right. That's yeah.
But everything,
Right.
Thank you. But he was begging. They were begging, and he was saying, "Nigga, get off my shoe," basically.
Oh shit.
That's
Jacqueline,
what it was.
Is this funding cut from the budget for HBCUs? Is that the reason why Howard students took over the Blackburn last night?
No, Howard students took over Blackburn because of bullshit with the administration at Howard University.
Moving boards of regents and stuff like that.
Right. And this has been an ongoing fight. And I'm actually not going to be able to do it, I don't think, because I'm not going to be in the country for the next week. But I mean, Howard students have been fighting with the administration at Howard, and the student organization at Howard is called HU Resist, and you can find their hashtag on Twitter, HU Resist. There's some incredible radical young folks, and they have been fighting against a very neoliberal, pro-capitalist, gentrifying, enabling administration. They've been selling off land. There's not enough student housing that clearly affects poor students. And there are questions about how much folks on the Board of Regents are getting paid, and the president is getting paid, and how come the tuition keeps going up and students can't. So those are different issues. But I'm glad you brought that up, Kim, because I think that does speak to the struggles that uh, students at HBCUs, too many HBCUs have on campuses against these neoliberal, capitalist, non-revolutionary radical administrations, while they also are not getting any support from the federal government. You know what I mean? So two separate fights, but almost the same fight, just different entities.
Well, to me, yesterday I gave an interview, and it'll be interesting to see how much of it ends up in the final version, because my position on this issue, I think, goes against what I think this journalist was hoping for the narrative of their story, which was HBCUs are underserved and mistreated just like Black people in the country, and which is of course true. But my interest, and this goes to the point of HU Resist and other issues, even the interview that we did recently with my colleague at Morgan State suing them, and we're going to actually have another one, I think, this Friday with another colleague of mine who is similarly in a $5 million federal lawsuit against Morgan State University. And her story is I thought, again, just like everything, a lot of things, I'll be, before Kim gets there, put the gender on the table and say, I, as a man suffering what I've suffered at Morgan State, does not even compare to what these two women and others have been going through. And when I heard off the record, what hopefully will be on the record Friday, I mean, it is bananas. But my point was that the bigger concern for me than how much funding goes to HBCUs is how those funds are allocated within the HBCU community once they're there. And from Howard to everywhere else, if you look at what are often public records, the salaries that go to these administrators versus the salaries that go to the faculty and the staff doing all of this work, who are overworked at 4 courses a semester, which, if people understand the academic world, is really unheard of if you value teaching and research and et cetera, to have to teach 4 courses for your entire career, largely because what funds do come to these universities wildly get redistributed upwards, is part of the problem here. And I think that gets washed away. So even in your story, Jackie, they reference, they cite Kevin Cosby, Reverend Kevin Cosby from Simmons College in Kentucky, which is a very conservative HBCU. He himself is a very conservative, but he does in microcosm what HBCUs get away with in macro, which is he presents himself as a Black progressive radical, uses race and the struggle of Black people to accumulate resources, and then distributes them only upwards to their own class within the community. And I met him, not coincidentally, through the group several years ago who have adopted the anti-soda hashtag. And this is why so it makes perfect sense. But this is what, anyway, so when you see him in the article you're referencing, talking about, don't throw Black colleges in with all minority colleges because that hides money, which is a valid, accurate point. He's doing it so he can be part of that class that siphons this money off and then walk away talking about we're representing the Black community. It's very frustrating. So anyway, I'm glad you brought this up this morning.
Yeah, and excuse me, in a quick related story, we have to be really careful. This is why we have to be very careful about excuse me, listening to politicians and be a lot more savvy in the way we consume media, because this is reported in Amsterdam News, which is an outlet that I have a lot of respect for, but they're even going with the narrative that the Biden administration is trying to correct misinformation on HBCU funding. There's no misinformation about that the $45 billion was proposed, and they allowed $43 billion to be like, okay, just thrown out the window. And I thought it was just funny that they actually interviewed Pastor Jamal Bryant. I just had to share that because I'm just like, Lord.
What did he say? I'm curious. What?
Okay, so he said,
what's his contribution to
this? I don't know why anybody interviewed this dude about this, but he said, in the face of discrimination against Black Americans by many institutions of higher education, HBCUs foster academic excellence and created pathways to opportunity for Black students throughout our nation. So that was the I'm sorry, forgive me, that was the administration saying that. So the article is saying that Jamal Bryant falsely claimed that the administration sought to defund HBCUs and that he later retracted those comments. Here's the thing. Okay, it might be technically accurate that the Biden administration didn't seek to defund HBCUs, but they did not fight for that funding that they proposed, that Biden proposed, and I don't believe it was Biden who put it in there. I think it was somebody on his staff that was like, remember those Black folks that was on that Zoom call that you were with? Stop being stupid. We got to put some money in here for those folks. And he was like, fine. So, knowing full well that it wasn't going to be accepted. So I'm not even giving Biden credit for that. But even if the Biden administration did not actively seek to defund HBCUs, it is true that the funding was cut drastically, almost down to nothing. $2 billion over 10 years is nothing. It is nothing. So that's not misinformation.
So I'm actually confused. I'm glad you're doing this because I've been confused by how these numbers are being reported, and I thought that the controversy was, or the way they were cleaning it up was that it wasn't that that there was an actual decrease in funding. It was just that there wasn't going to be the increase that they had been initially proposed. And that, so like the way that corporations will project to make a $50 billion profit and only make $40 billion in profit and claim it as a $10 billion loss. That's what I thought what was going on here. But I admittedly, and I feel like I should know more about this. I'm not clear on what the numbers are saying in terms of how much was given previously, how much is supposed to actually come, because they keep breaking it down to some of it goes directly to HBCUs via this program, some of it via through this other program. And then this article is trying to reshape it to say that, if I'm reading it correct, they're trying to reshape it to say that there isn't an actual decrease. It's just not going to be the increase that was presented, and that this shouldn't be used as a knock against the president for defunding the universities, which is still the shell game of you're not giving what should be given, you're not doing what's supposed to be doing, and you want to run around here castigating and what was it? Anyway, speaking down to Black leadership, as inappropriate as they might be, anyway, and clean yourself off from your
But when it's election time, I'll be back up in those communities telling you that you ain't Black if you don't vote for me.
That's right.
That ain't gonna change.
Take these crumbs and shut up. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, I shouldn't say him because he's gonna die and then come out.
Jesus, come
on. he's gonna kick the bucket and then be rehabilitated.
Yeah. Or he's just gonna, the drool is gonna be too much to ignore, and Kamala's gonna push him down the stairs anyway. She's like,
"Oh,
my turn."
Cackling.
She is ambitious.
My turn.
She is ambitious for sure. She might very well do that. Yeah.
Y'all, let me ask you guys a quick conversation. A quick question. I have not had coffee, so pardon me if my words do not match the intent of the sentence. But anyway, so I'm hearing what Jackie's reporting about the federal funding being cut for HBCUs, and I know obviously it's a separate issue from what the state of Maryland HBCU sued the state of Maryland for $1 billion behind underfunding of HBCUs, and I think only settled for half that amount. Do I have that right, Jared? Was it 500 million that they settled for?
I want to say it was like 574 million, but something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Democrats and Republicans not interested in funding HBCUs. It's like again, when we talk about where are we headed in terms of Joe Biden breaking all these campaign promises they made to Black people, and it's like, well, who the fuck do we vote for in 2022, right? Because I know it's not a presidential election, but it is a midterm election, and I think it will be a gubernatorial election here in the state of Maryland as well. And it's like, we have enemies. Our enemies are both the two political parties that are in power right now. So if I'm trying to say fuck you to the Democrats because y'all don't do shit for me, well, the answer is not for me to go vote for Republicans, right? Like, are people just going to be sitting out these upcoming elections because the Democrats certainly just don't deserve our vote?
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that is precisely what's going to happen. I think historically, Republicans are much better at grassroots organizing around the midterms than the Democrats are, and that has always been historically true. So turnout for midterm elections for Democrats has always been lower than most Republican voters, and that's just honestly a matter of organizing. It doesn't matter that those people are crazy and racist and quite a literal death cult party, but they organize around what they want in midterm and local elections, and the people respond. And Democrats just generally don't do it. They don't go knock on doors. They don't go talk to people. They don't go explain their platform and tell people this is why you should vote for me. So what needs to happen, I think, so I do think, Kim, that a lot of people are going to sit out the midterms, I think, for that reason, because people are realizing, and by people, I mean our people, working class, poor, oppressed, Black, other people of marginalized people of color, because they realize that neither one of these parties represent change or anything better for them. However, the time is short, but independent, worker-led, radical, political, alternative parties really need to step up their game in the kind of organizing that will get people excited about voting their candidates into local offices so they can move up in the political ranks, just like the Tea Party did. It took them a while, but I mean, if we're going to talk about using electoral politics as a strategy, then there's no shortcut to that. So, like in Maryland, for example, there is the Umoja People's Progress Party. I mean, if you live in Maryland, you hate Larry Hogan, which you should, and you're not happy with, any of the mayors in the state, then you should know about the Umoja Party, and you should look them up. And I know they're doing good work. So
it's Ujima, right? Isn't it
I'm sorry,
Ujima's
did I
People's
call
Party?
it Umoja? See, I haven't had enough.
It's one of them key Swahili words.
Ujima,
but Ujima People's Party for progress,
Ujima
right?
People's Progress Party.
But just real quick, I would like to, without any pre-discussion, just on air, suggest I would like to see some sort of further collaboration between BPM and say Burn It Down with Kim Brown, and maybe some others. We could do some cross promotional events and discussions on each other's platforms about this issue, and invite Ujima, invite the Greens, invite the after party types, the non-voter, whoever's, and start having some more discussions, because I would like us to be more involved. That is, again, one of my openly expressed fantasies about BPM, is that we be more involved in this discussion around electoral politics. Because if this is going to be a tactic many of us are going to engage, I for one think it needs to be engaged very differently. And I would like to see at least more types of discussion around it. I mean, expand the discussion beyond, where we seem to get stuck of will we or won't we vote for this or that Democrat. So anyway, that's just my humble 2 cents. Throw it out there while we're sitting here.
Absolutely.
Waiting for the ear doctor.
Yeah. And I want people to please go to Burn It Down with Kim Brown and check out the interview I did with Princess Blanding, who is the Liberation Party candidate to be governor of Virginia. She is an official candidate. Her people stomped the streets to get enough signatures to get her officially on the ballot against Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin. And 2 weeks ago, she was excluded from the gubernatorial debate, and she was present at the debate, and she disrupted the debate very righteously. And she came on my show and not only talked about her platform and the shit that she's running, not the shit, but I mean the issues that she's running on. She represents the average working Black Virginian. You know what I mean? Like, she's a teacher. She Her family has experienced police violence, with Richmond police killing her brother, who was experiencing a mental health crisis. She really understands way more so than the two landowning, multimillionaire, career politician white men who are on the ballot for governor. So we have to be aware of these candidates. Like I told her when I had her on the program, I said I wasn't even aware of your candidacy before you disrupted the debate, and I still feel shame behind that. So as we find out about these people who are running these very righteous, third party campaigns, we have to elevate them and amplify them as much as possible so people are aware of them. And then just a quick reminder that India Walton stands a very good chance of becoming the mayor of Buffalo as a Black woman, Democratic Socialist up there. And so that's a race that we also should be paying attention to this November.
Right. And real quick, I always have to explain this when I talk about the Tea Party, because people really do not understand what I mean when I say that they started as a grassroots
AstroTurf.
What they did was they went and started talking about the things that they were pissed off about. It doesn't matter that they were pissed off about the Black man who was in the White House, because that's what they were pissed off about when they started being politically engaged. But they started having these little meetings where a few people attended. They would go to churches, they would go to VFW pancake breakfasts, and they would have little meetings in fields and set up tents. And that's how they did grassroots outreach. That's what I'm talking about. The grassroots organizing. They took their message to the people. People always get twisted about, the Tea Party was funded by rich white people. The Tea Party started as a legitimate movement that had issues with taxation in the United States. And then the racists took over because Obama won the White House. And then they started organizing on a grassroots level, taking their ridiculous racist ass message to all of these little places where there wasn't a whole lot of political engagement. The same thing with the moral majority. That's how they became politically active. They talked to the people that weren't engaged in politics as much. So if we as so-called leftists are serious about organizing, people always talk about, we have to look at and read the things that our enemy does. Then how come it's not the same thing when we're talking about understanding how the Tea Party turned into the Republicans in Congress today? That's how they did it. It wasn't the money. It was the grassroots organizing in these little towns with all these people who were pissed off about the Black guy in the White House. That's how they grew. That's a part of how they grew that movement. And they started by electing people to these low-level offices, school board, city council, the recorder of deeds. And those people got moved up in the political ranks until the next thing you know, they're the head of the city council, they're the police chief, they're the mayor, they're the fucking governor, they're in Congress. That's how that worked.
So I had developed this perfect segue, and then Ear Doctor changed his background, so it's lost. But as I think we should, what Jackie just laid out is exactly why I think we should be revisiting all of this. And as the building that she's in tried to Teddy Pendergrass her and turn off the lights, I thought we were going to be able to slip into the darkness with war, but then Ear Doctor went and put up a red background, and I'm not quick enough to come up with something new. So Ear Doctor, come on in, man. You messed me up, man, but go ahead, man.
Hey, I just do what I do here. I came to give a Blasker. It is
Blasker.
Right.
I thought it was a vampire vibe, but okay.
No blood sucking leeches over here. But check this out. We're gonna give a Blasker. So stay tuned and find out who's gonna get it. All right.
Blaka,
the remix.
What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? It is time to give roses, to give this Blasker out. You see, I got my suit on, my suit jacket on, coming through like what? You know what I'm saying? On my Big Daddy Kane Valleys wearing days, you know what I'm saying? Back in '89. Let's get it. But anyway, who is gonna get a Blosker today? Let's give it up to. Does anybody know this guy right here? I mean, you might have seen him back in the day from this movie, Brother from Another Planet. This, my friend, is no other than Joseph Thomas Morton Jr. Straight out of Harlem, 73 years old. He's been doing this thing for a while. Matter of fact, let me in case you never seen any of his acting, let me just give you a quick monologue because this dude tears it down. And one of my favorite shows, and I ain't gonna front, say what you must, Scandal was my joint. So here's a little piece that he did from Scandal, where he killed it. This is how he gets down.
I can't quite decide which part of your indecorous behavior troubles me more. The decision to interrupt me while I was speaking, the distasteful reference to my daughter requiring reins, or this foolish belief that I would ever take orders from you. Eli. Oh, you want to be a boss? Is that it? No, I spit it out, son! Speak with some spirit! Do you want to be a boss? No, sir. So you don't want to be president? Of course I do. Then you want to be a boss.
Now, this guy has been putting it down. Man, listen, this guy's been putting it down for a minute. And like I'm saying straight up, when you go down to his list, this guy has been doing over like 50 movies. He's done movies going back to, like I said, he did Tap. He did Judgment Day 2. He's done Speed 2. He's been in all types of Batman versus Superman, the Justice League. And talking about TV, this guy takes it back to being in MASH. He was in Sanford and Son. He was in What's Happening. He was in all types of New York Undercover. This guy's done over 50 TV shows, over 50 movies. This guy definitely. And not only that, he's also done video games like Ghost Hunter, Grand Theft Autos, been voices for that. He's won a couple awards, some NAACP Image Awards. He's even won a award for Raisin, a theater world award. So he's been doing this thing for a minute. So like I said, I want to give it up to this brother and give him a Blosker. Big up to Joseph Thomas Morton Jr. You, my friend, are getting a Blosker from Black Power Media. Much love. Let's go back to the morning show, y'all. All right.
I'm very glad you did that, because they also killed that brother twice in films, signifying the end of the whole joint, right? So in the Terminator, doesn't he dies, right? Yep. And then in one of the Justice League movies, doesn't he die to save?
He's the father. Yeah, he dies from that.
I was going to also point out,
right
that,
on.
He is so pro-black. That's him with his wife.
Oh,
like
wow.
he deserves the Blosker, because he is really into Black Power.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I just wanted to point that out.
He did jump on the Trump train. He did jump on the Trump train.
Love is love.
No, it is. I just found that video and I just wanted to show how pro-black he is.
Yo, but Brother from Another Planet was in '84. Y'all remember that?
Yeah. I was.
This dude did a whole movie without even having to talk.
That's true. He didn't speak at all. That's true.
I'm just saying.
That's his best acting. Yeah.
Yes. So that's my Blosker for the day. That's what it is.
Thank you very much. Right on.
Excellent job there, Air Doctor.
Not me, Kamal. I thought I did an excellent job.
No, Kamal, you're just so today, sir. I'm sorry.
Keep your shirt on, Kamal.
No, take it off.
Yikes.
No, with Kim.
What? I thought we had agreed that Kamal was gonna floss his dad body. No, I thought that was the agreement.
At the very least.
So I had something that I did want us to have some fun with, aside from, of course, Kamal taking his shirt off. But and Kim, I know you got into this a little bit on your show yesterday. So I don't know if I'm going to take it to the level of seriousness that you are, but I have to admit, so a thing that we used to do, my old radio crew, Shout out to WPFW, Sister Katia Stitt, all of that. And I think we're reviving it this year in December. We are going to return to WPFW for a Hate Awards. We're going to reconvene. And one of the favorite Hate Awards, I thought we would give something happened this week that just provides such a perfect example of why we do these awards. And one of our favorite awards is the Rick James Fuck Your Couch Award. Okay. Speaking of Rick James. So and Stephen A. Smith just nominated himself this week for an award because of his brilliant performance one day to the next. So if we could just start here, I just want to play just a few seconds of this so we can remind everybody, because I know there's a level of seriousness that we should probably get to with this story about John Gruden's early retirement of sorts. But but for me, it's about Stephen A. Smith and the Rick James Award. So check this out real quick.
A lot to unpack here. Stephen A., I'll start with you. What do you think should happen to John Gruden?
So I just want to quickly say this is yesterday or the day before yesterday, right? So this is the day before yesterday, right?
The chronology and all this means is very important. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Kim. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Not a damn thing.
Oh shit.
So she's
other than what's happening. He has to stand before black men. What you said. It was racially insensitive. It was irresponsible. And there are people that are going to view him as a racist now. He has to live with that.
Because he
but
said
as it pertains to
the Morris Smith has lips like a gorilla, right? Or something like that, right?
Like a Michelin tire.
Michelin tire. Thank you.
Nor should he be suspended.
Should not be fired.
He was not working for the NFL in 2011, a decade ago, when this email was when he wrote this email. I believe it was to Bruce Allen, who was running the Redskins at the time, and he was close with Bruce Allen from their days back in the day with the Raiders, whatever. But he was not with the NFL. He was working for us here at ESPN, doing Monday Night Football. And so when you take that into consideration, the fact of the matter is that I don't believe that the NFL should have any jurisdiction to do anything based on an email that circulated from a decade ago. If that's the case, I got news for you. There's a whole bunch of people that's in a world of trouble.
We're all in trouble.
We get to sit up here and reflect back on things that we said, or emails that we
I feel like he's worried about
may have
himself.
written from a decade ago or more. There's a whole bunch of people in this world that's gonna be trouble. That's gonna be in a war.
All right, so that's the day before, right? That's the day before. So when the emails came out,
there's a whole bunch of people that oh Jesus.
Who was even reading emails a decade ago? Be fair, people. Shit.
But remember, at this point, the story. What's up, Kalanji? I slide in the building. Good morning.
Hey man, look here. As soon as I hop on, I see Stephen A. Smith with his Ewok looking ass.
We're not done, but we're not done with him. Because check it out. Because he says. Remember when the email controversy was only at the level of what he's saying is one racist email. Nothing should happen to him.
Nothing.
Good, boss.
It's not the jurisdiction. He was
One
working
line,
for us.
He's working for us, boss. We sick, boss.
So this is 24 hours later. All right. And here we go.
To say that this is stunning doesn't even begin to. A couple of things. One, yesterday, you weren't here. I was of the mindset that John Gruden shouldn't be fired, shouldn't be suspended, because it was one email from 2011. And then the next thing you know, this avalanche arrived last night. And you learned that it wasn't one email, but many. You learned it wasn't one email that happened in 2011. It was emails that started in like 2010 all the way to 2011, all the way to 2018. And let's get into the particulars, because before I even say all of that, let me say this. John Gruden's career is over. It's over. There's certain things that we are the land of second chances. People make mistakes all the time, and we get all of that. But I cannot imagine even a white male with influence and connections and some degree of power that can overcome what the New York Times reported and what we all now know.
Even a white man can.
John Gruden made racially insensitive comments about DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the Players Association. And you have a plethora of people in this country that felt that should have been enough.
That's his favorite.
Then we learned that he was against the NFL bringing in a guy like Michael Sam, saying over via emails that the commissioner should not be encouraging then Rams coach Jeff Fisher to draft queers. Then he sat up there, and after all of that, what did he say after that? He goes off, he calls the commissioner the P word. He calls the vice president of the United States the P word. He's against women being officials in the National Football League. I mean, you insulted blacks, you insulted women, you insulted folks from the gay community. The list
Wait,
just
and
went on and on.
criticize player safety.
So now
What a
I
difference
don't.
they
I
make.
know there's a debate obviously to be had, because I've seen people been pointing out the fact that Dave Chappelle is proven right by Stephen A. Smith, because once the issue was raised beyond just black people, now all of a sudden it's punishable. For me, in my childishness in this moment, in my Rick James award, because if you remember, if people don't remember the sketch, you have to understand this is Rick James saying, "I didn't put my feet on your couch. What I look like putting my feet on you?" And the very next clip, "Yeah, I put my feet on your couch. Fuck your couch." So Stephen A. Smith, to me, now he created a nice lane for himself, talking about the plethora of new information. But I just thought it was so funny to go from one day to the next and watch this man, So I know anyway. So I'll just leave it there. I enjoyed that thoroughly, and so there it is.
Even a good white man like John Gruden can't overcome.
Oh wait, no, honey, that was Mike Tirico and damn Tony Dungy on Sunday Night Football talking about Mike Tirico talking about I worked with John Gruden for 7 years. I've never heard him use language like that. Of course, nigga.
I've never worked for John Gruden, and I could look at him. I knew he was using language like that. I was like, you can tell that's a racist cracker. You can see it all over his face.
First of all, Bruce Allen, they mentioned this in that interview a few minutes later on that segment, but Bruce Allen is the brother of George Allen, who, if anybody knows anything, son of George Allen, who the very conservative right-wing whatchamacallit of Virginia, and coming out of Virginia, and former head of the football team and all this stuff, known very much to be a conservative, right winger. So this is like the idea that they would be, and then all the discussion in the emails apparently with what was it? I forgot all the businesses he was talking to, but like all these people who are clearly
the co-founder of Hooters was one of the people that was on the email chain, and the man who owns is it PCQ Chicken? Do I have that right? People who live down south and in the Southwest. I can't remember, but yes.
That sounds right. That sounds like it would be
co-founder of Hooters too. Well,
yes,
I never.
Hooters.
What a shock that he would have an issue with any.
Anyway.
Oh my God.
Stephen A. Smith hairline looked like it went back 2 inches between that 24-hour period. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at that shit.
Snatched his own hairline back.
Man, I can't.
Real hairline.
Yeah, it's us, boss. Boss would never do that to us.
He had to go look at that $8 million or whatever salary and be like, let me find my lane in these zeros.
The real reason he got fired, you call it, what was Goodell?
Thank you.
Yeah, he kept on calling him a pussy.
And an F word. And an F word. Like that to me is the real reason why John Gruden is out of a job. It has nothing to do with the racist comments he made against DeMaurice Smith, or the misogynistic comments he made about female referees, or even exchanging topless photos of Washington football team cheerleaders with Bruce Allen. That's not the reason he's fired. The reason he is resigned or forced to resign is because he called Roger Goodell the F word. That because he criticized the commissioner of the league and criticized the ownership. And Roger and John Gruden, despite him being $100 million motherfucker, is still underneath the owners, right? And you, even in your privileged position as a white man, cannot call your bosses F words and the like. So that to me is why he is out of a job, not because of any racist, misogynistic stuff he had to say.
That sounds
He's looking at Stephen A. Smith like, shut up, nigga.
And remember, his brother Jay got caught at the end of his time with the Washington football team, his whack tenure running that team. He got caught. Remember those the photos surfaced of him drunkenly, draped over some young woman at some little college town bar or whatever, something like that. So they all seem to be just messy folks.
Crackerish.
You know what I mean? Real crackerish. Mighty white of you.
But it's so
clean up.
I mean, for Toms like Stephen A. Smith, and I didn't really think too much about Mike Tirico, to be honest. Like, I thought Mike Tirico was one of them proper talking Negroes that unjustly get labeled as a Tom just because he insists on trying to speak the Queen's English. But no, Mike Tirico has earned that Tom moniker, and I don't get it. Like, is John Gruden y'all boy like that? Really? That y'all got to go out here and run public interference in defense for him for this nonsense?
I think it's defense of the institution. I think it's defense of ESPN.
I agree. Yes.
And they see again those zeros on that check, and I I was even asking myself, like, how many zeros would I have to see before I started saying John Gruden ain't such a bad guy? What's the matter with you, silly
white man who
maybe his lips did look a little Michelin-ish. I don't know.
Right. I mean, maybe he was right.
Can you tell? I can't tell.
Hey,
Give him one more chance.
Straight up, I just got my, another one of those alerts that my student loans are going to come due in a few more months. Like that's going to get re-kicked back in. And I was like, how many zeros would it take? Like, if I wipe this joint out, I'll be up there maybe talking about, those BPM fools are suckers.
I always knew Kalonji was another.
I always knew he was. I was trying to tell you he was a mess. I'm tell you.
I'm here with email. I'm here with the Young Turks now, doing my thing.
Me and Chink.
Young Chink.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Hey, yo, you think Jared will sell us
That's a
out,
bird
man?
money.
Jared wouldn't sell us out, would he?
He said, how many zeros, D?
Hey.
That student loan debt, boy, is a monster. And I'll
I personally think it
never
only
pay
be
it
three
off.
zeros. I think it's only going to be 3 zeros. It's not going to be a lot.
It's not going to
3
be
zeros.
three
That's all it
zeros.
takes.
Yeah,
Oh,
3
that's all
zeros.
it would take? Nah, because that wouldn't even pay off the debt. That's messed up, Kamal.
And don't let his boy
Like-
call him. What's his boy name? I don't know how could I forget his name. His favorite white man. What's his name?
Who? Noam Chomsky?
No,
No, that's my
yours.
favorite white man.
Oh, mine? Oh, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore. Let Jimmy Dore close him.
No,
Like, hey,
Oh,
Jack,
all over.
Hey, man, straight
yeah,
up,
you
man.
want to
Jimmy
co-host
has
this spot?
No,
Jimmy
Jimmy
Dore
let me down.
and-
He found his preferred black host, and I think my shot is gone.
Who's he got?
found
Who's he got?
the brother from the Fred Hampton leftists.
I haven't watched.
I haven't
I
watched.
I
Everything
haven't.
goes with
It's
that.
hard to watch, honestly, because I don't hear a lot of Fred Hampton, and I don't hear a lot of leftists.
He probably got
they're
brothers
just
from another
beyond.
planet.
They're just beyond the Democratic Party. So that's
okay.
And
Okay.
you know how these white folks do. They're not going to find their peers and their age, and he's going to find somebody half his age. Remember he was rocking with the football player before, fresh out the NFL, new to politics. That's who they rock with.
Somebody who can
But-
lord
but-
over. Yeah.
So I missed my shot with Jimmy, unfortunately. But you never know. If he calls me up and says, come rock with us, and we get that student debt cut, taken care of.
We just
You
know.
just gotta leave Kalonji and them.
Just know I'm
I
be
don't know,
shitting on the
man.
show every day, every chance I get.
Wow,
Fuck Jared Dore.
And that's so.
Jared Dore.
Jared Dore, oh Lord.
Ain't playing around.
I'll be
here, man.
sitting next to my
Ain't
man
playing.
from Fred Hampton Leftists talking about, what's up, brother?
That's right. As soon as Kamal be like, well, I'll be like, nah, I take full responsibility. Fuck Jared Dore. Don't clean up my language. We don't give a fuck. That's how we do. You know what I'm saying?
My Kamal gotta be doing the well.
Now, you know, Kamal try to clean up some shit real quick.
Trying to stay on the air, B. Trying to stay on the air. Trying to stay on the air
Be
sometimes.
like, what Kalonji's really trying to say? No, they ain't what the fuck I said.
Yeah. It's what he should have said.
Oh yeah, should I say it? That's it. Anyway, Jared Dore, he's on his way out. Anyway,
All right,
it's
what we
going to
got?
be all
What else
right.
we got?
Yes.
Oh, we got
Actually, Do we have more? Oh, we do have more news. You know what? I had something here. You know, speaking of the white folks that I like, I do like the gray zone, other than of course the fact that they they got their blind spot on political prisoners and the black radical tradition. But when it comes to this stuff, boy, they are killing it. And Ben Norton, with this latest research, I think is fascinating, particularly anybody interested in propaganda and the like. And this new story is about, and it's long and it's in depth, and I just have a few pieces to pull out from it very quickly. But NATO's cognitive warfare battle for the brain, it reads as something that is perhaps less new than an extension of struggles that have been going on in mass communication and propaganda research for a long time. But just a couple of quick highlights. They talk, of course, about the battle for the brain. NATO is spinning out an entirely new kind of combat it has branded cognitive warfare, described as the weaponization of brain sciences. The new method involves hacking the individual by exploiting the vulnerabilities of the human brain in order to implement more sophisticated social engineering. And they're looking to extend the range of warfare beyond where it is now in air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace into what they call, quote, the human domain. A 2020 NATO-sponsored study of this new form of warfare clearly explained while actions taken in the 5 domains are executed in order to have an effect on the human domain, cognitive warfare's objective is to make everyone a weapon. The brain will be the battlefield of the 21st century, the report stressed. Humans are the contested domain, and future conflicts will likely occur amongst the people digitally first and physically thereafter in proximity hubs of political and economic power, end quote. And then lastly here, in a chilling disclosure, Norton writes, the report said explicitly that, quote, the objective of cognitive warfare is to harm societies and not only the military, end quote. So it's a further, he says, weaponization of social sciences. And as I said, which for me somewhat reads as an extension of a history of imperialism, where, of course, the social sciences have always been used as part of military conquest, and in fact have been extensions of military and imperial conquest, which is why there have been and continue to be constant struggles with institutions around who else gets to be included in certain centers of study, or who is the focus of the study. Because if we remember, fields like anthropology, sociology, philosophy, psychology often may emanate from the consciousness of Europeans, but they were targeted on the people those folks were conquering to study how to best manipulate and manage them. So that's what we're seeing being extended today, which is again why it's important to support BPM, because that's the world in which we are engaged in this digital space in a war for cognitive warfare. We're engaged in cognitive warfare. So
am I missing something? Because of the fact I thought that they've been doing that on black folks in America, and that's why we was calling ourselves Black American. I mean, they've been doing that shit for hundreds of years. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like, what, they come up with a new fancy title and wanted to invest some more funds in it.
That's what I'm saying. It's less new. It's more of an update. But you know, so
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. But I still think it's fascinating, and the kind of language that they're using, you know, that's being, at least through his work, Norton's work, openly distributed. It's just good to see it in print sometimes. But you're right. This is, again, Du Bois called it the propaganda of history. So I mean, this is what has been going on for quite a while. But it's just, again, I think it's fascinating to be reminded that as we get sometimes caught up and enamored with the new technology and the bells and whistles, that this is what's really going on here.
Can I tell you, Jared, what popped into my head when you were talking about that story? All of a sudden, I was back in 1994 and I heard the voices of C. Dolores Tucker and Reverend Calvin Butts talking about the rap music is conditioning the young black children to call each other bitches and hoes, and to call each other niggas, and now all y'all want to do is fight and shoot. That's it. That was
no, Kim, thank you. Look. I wrote a piece. I presented on this. I've had a wonderful debate on our platform with the brother Davey D around this issue. I have been trying to resuscitate and rehabilitate in many ways the argument, not so much of Calvin Butts, but particularly of C. Dolores Tucker, whose argument around, again, she was not a radical revolutionary. She had other issues, but her argument about what was happening to rap music and what it was being used to do to Black youth in particular was absolutely right. And all of this false narrative around hip hop history, the early punditry of people like Michael Eric Dyson around trying to condemn her so it would seem like he was cool with the Black youth, all of this hustle has confused the history to the point where even hip hop supporters and defenders have been complicit in this mythology that hip hop had to struggle against her to free itself, when in reality it was having to struggle and lost that fight by now, obviously, to free themselves from what she was warning about. So, people could point to her being, an old style civil rights activist if they want to, but the fact was, in that particular argument, I think she was 100% right. So I'm glad you bring that up. Right on. That's what's been going on.
Welcome to America.
Jackie slipped into darkness again.
I'm just gonna sit in the dark now because I've been put in a timeout by God, I suppose.
Okay. Oh wow! All right.
I will trust. Anyway, you good.
Well, between Ear Doctor and I'm sure our next guest that we have coming up with Brother Kalonji, I think we will be brought back into the light here on the Remix Morning Show.
No, you don't have a guest with me. I think that Brother Kamal who has a guest.
Oh, my bad. My apologies.
We just look alike.
Excuse my own self. Apologies.
Okay.
Hey, yo,
Yeah,
real
right.
quick,
The other
you know what
kid.
it is? John Gruden just been hanging around the brothers for too long. I mean, think about it. When we used to talk about JJ, we was like, yo, look at this big lip dude, JJ from Good Times. And when we talk about people like, yo, he's a sucker.
Are you Mike Tiricoing right now?
Look, seriously, Ear Doctor.
I've never said anything about JJ.
Well, you act like we come from the era of cracking. You've been hanging around the brothers too long, and that's his problem.
I
think you've been hanging around ESPN and Stephen A. Smith
been
too
hanging
long,
around
my brother.
You're hanging out with Southern White, with cracker family and friends
Right.
too long.
I don't know who your brothers are, brother.
There were no brothers in that email group.
None. He told them black people, get out there and play your ass off for me. That's them hanging around the
Right.
come to my house.
Well, a lot came out of a brother
Mayors
that
in
don't
the
got.
chat. Hate and jokes are not the same.
Okay, a lot came out of a brother's lips that they ain't got no lips. Now let's get to the artist spotlight right about here, right now. Let's go.
Colder than the white man.
Definitely colder than the white man.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right now, we are going to get into a artist spotlight. The artist spotlight I want to bring forth to you is by some kids. Yes, I'm on my giving shots out to the youth today. These youth are called the Real Young Prodigies. So I want y'all to check them out, and we're going to talk about it when we get back. So let's get to it right here. This is the Real Young Prodigies, Reparations.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. Young Prodigies.
Reparations, Maya said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream. My legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper. Kicking the goal, coming for our 40 acres and more. Our 6.4 trillion, this that know we fought the Civil War. We came from the poor, free man. Start from the bottom, we still on the floor. We back to the Lord, amen. Picking the cotton, our things are sword. Straight out the underground, escaping from slavery, the only cemeteries that we have were the trees. Watching our bodies while they grow in the breeze. Things in the north side get free.
Ballet came from slavery. Where's on the man wants to get on knee? Put her head on the dub with the werewolf scheme. Stick to the north side to get free.
Reparations, Maya said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream. My legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
We taking them back. Putting Pettis Bridge on the map. Police came with the strap. The niggas buddy no cap.
Speaking of cap, Kaepernick taking knees at the flag. Where my justice at? We built this nation, better give me the rat off fat. Just a match, shit, a little bit of gasoline. 4 girls got burned back in 63.
400 years, yeah, we still ain't free. I rise, we rise, take a knee.
Kaepernick. Reparations, Maya said check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, ain't your buddy, and our paper. We stuck in the trap, with no shoes, trying to pull up bootstraps. Increasing the gap, wealth got bigger, so we had to adapt. Discriminated cause we black. I know it worth more than I know it's a fact. They tryna feel scraps. Strike me on words so we can't come back.
30 years ago, on April 19, you said there's my Remy chemical read.
If it happened to them, thing that happened to me. Screaming out running 5 to a free. Prodigy. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, ain't your 40 and our paper.
All right. So there you have it right there. The real young prodigies talking about reparations. I have a quick question to throw out to all y'all. What y'all think? If we do get reparations, do we want cash? Do we want land? Do we want schooling? If we were to get reparations, how would we want it? Because if we get cash, y'all seen Dave Chappelle. I'm just saying. But that's what it is. Let's get back to the morning show host. Yeah.
Yes,
right.
Babies, let's go. I need the link, Ear Doctor. Where is that? How can I put that on my iTunes, dog? I need that when I'm out for my jogs.
Just go look up the real young prodigies reparations on YouTube, and you can see that.
Let's
so
go.
Disturbed. I'm just so disturbed in so many ways.
I loved it. You didn't like that, Camille? I dug that.
I mean, there's always the cuteness of the kids, but it's these little weird mixed messages of like it's all about the money.
Yeah,
they're saying about the reparations bill. I mean, it's all.
Dr. King did not say, "Give me the check." That's not what King was talking about.
Well, that's a whole other discussion of how.
No, in fact, he explicitly said the opposite. He said his explicit point was the opposite. The reference to the check, of course, in 63 was not a literal check. It was a metaphor. But in his explicit statement on these issues, he was saying the federal government it's public policy that is needed to change if you want economic justice for anybody. It's not about a check. It's not about it's about federal
Dr. King was
public
wrong about that shit. It is damn run me my check.
I don't agree at all. I don't agree at all. In fact,
run me my check. No.
That's fine. So to answer your doctor's question, and this is where we would disagree, a check or not, if it doesn't include at minimum something like debt cancellation across the board and healthcare and something like that, or some sort of permanent line to the GDP. I'm not interested.
Yeah, that reparations talk is a whole big conversation, but I know we got a guest coming, so I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Yeah, my perspective, I would say, as an organizer, we try to get in touch with them, we meet them where they're at, and expand the education. I think that the fact that they're making an effort to even deal with the language, you know what I'm saying? It's up to us, you know what I'm saying, to go further and say, okay, boom, with this, now that you're on this, it's bigger than the check. Me personally, I'm for reparations in blood. That's a whole nother story. But like Kamal said, definitely keep children, and at the same time, like I said, we got to step in, because they could be talking about some straight bullshit. They could be talking about going to sell some dope. They could be talking about selling ass and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? But they're starting off with like, okay, boom, they're on the Pettis Bridge. They're you know what I mean? They're in the ballpark. But it's like a way to go to get to the field.
Before there's reparations, there will be blood. I mean, just put it like that. So
that's cool.
There's no reparations with Rob. I mean, that's the part that the part that always gets me about the reparations discussion, at least in my personal view, is that the people who've enslaved you, who've Jim Crowed you, who've lynched you, have already shown that they have no desire whatsoever to make us whole through any means whatsoever, whether or not that's cash, public policy, or otherwise. That the only way reparations is when your enemy is defeated, and then you can charge them up the wazoo. But before that, it's all talk and narrative and discussion, and it's not for me. It's not like a real deal.
Yeah, I unite with all that. Everything's political, but at the same time, I look at it like like marching and shit. It's a strategy. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with strategies of war, and how do we get people to the right side of history? Again, George Jackson, reparations in blood. You know what I mean? But
the kids, anyway.
We love the babies.
Well done, kids.
Always
Good
love the
job.
babies. Very talented. Right on. Absolutely.
Love
And the
the
video
babies.
was dope too. Videographer, whoever, I don't know
Yes.
the age of the
Yeah.
videographer, but that was dope. And the track too. Speaking of production,
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed all of that.
A little
Yes.
too much of this for a 6-year-old, though. A little too much of this for a
Exactly.
6-year-old.
Yes. And that's how we should critique
It's
it
Brooklyn.
from a 6-year-old perspective. Okay.
Whatever
Children.
adult told the
It's
6-year-old to
Brooklyn.
do this, let me just put it like that. It might be a bit much.
And man, Ear Doctor said next. So there it is.
Excuse
Let's
us.
get to the next. Yeah, excuse us.
A special guy. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Sister Tamara.
Good morning, Kamal. How are you?
I'm good. It's like the roles are flipped here. I get to interview you for a change. I'm so excited when the ear doctor told me he set this up.
Oh my gosh, when I saw this was you, I just started laughing. I was like, oh, we have flipped. The seats have changed, right?
Well, let's see if I can do even a half decent job compared to what you do when I'm talking to you. So just for our audience, and we talked a little bit earlier today about having candidates who are either third party or alternative candidates to the status quo. And I think you certainly represent that. Tamara Johnson-Shealy is a 2022 candidate for the United States Senate in Georgia. And I think she's going up against Warnock, as you did before. The last time you ran for this position, out of 21 candidates, you placed 6, and you garnered 106,000 votes, over 106,000 votes. And I will say that it's obvious from your track record that you run left of Warnock, and you discuss some things around self-determination issues that people like Warnock and the Democratic Party will not even touch, including a little bit of what we just got to see around the issue of reparations, and not only supporting it, not only in terms of the bill, but really being an advocate for it. So let's start there around what including a reparations discussion, what do you say was sort of your primary reason for running sort of this uphill battle against a Democratic incumbent for the U.S. Senate in Georgia?
Oh my! So I just want to say thank you to the broadcast for giving me an opportunity to be here. I'm delighted, and that video reparations. Before we get into your question, that's my jam. Kamal laughs. That is my jam. That is my group. Those are my babies. I love them tremendously. That song, I love to hear it, and I hope it just keeps getting played, because that generation, they're speaking in their own language. You know, they have their way of communicating, and we have to respect that. We're kind of like their elders, right? So
not even kind of, yeah.
We're their elders.
We are there.
We are. So we have to give them room to express themselves in the way that they understand it. So, and that's the way they get it. And I'm glad that they are. They're channeling our ancestors, that energy. And this is our time. Reparations is not something that is new. You know, this is not a new argument. This is not a new discussion, a new push. This has been has had traction in the U.S. Congress since 1989. You know, but we've now gotten here, and it is happening, and I believe it's going to happen. So to answer your question, I am again, yes, the 2022 candidate for the United States Senate, primarying the Senator Warnock. And where he falls short, you know, it is so disappointing, disheartening that he is, you know, the pastor of the legendary Ebenezer Baptist Church, standing in the pulpit of Dr. King, and not championing Black issues to the extent that he needs to be. I don't know where he stands on anything specific to us, honestly. Reparations is a conversation that when we ran in 2020, when that question came up, he had to be pushed. He said he support the study, and that's the extent of his talking points. where I dive all the way in. My agenda is specific to reparations, creating the reparations administration, where we will have a full agency that will house our redress. You know, I don't shy away from Black issues, and that is why I run, and that is why I run as hard as I do, because not only, you know, as a legislator do we speak for all communities, but as a Black woman and a Black person in America, I'm going to speak for us.
And so at the forefront, one of your big platforms is reparations. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the other platform items that you have that you think challenge not only Warnock on his inability to talk about Black issues as you spoke about, but that push a Black agenda?
Yeah, you know, I speak to criminal justice reform, you know, climate. You know, we live in our communities are you know, we know the air quality, you know, we understand the water, we understand the issues that are plaguing us. I speak to, I am a progressive Democrat, you know, so I have a progressive agenda. You know, we do mirror each other. I won't take, you know, everything away from Warnock. I'll just say that we do mirror each other on the Democratic platform. But I'm much more progressive in forward with the issues specific to the Black community, and that is the differentiation between he and I.
And you've, I feel like you've constantly challenged status quo Democrats in your history, which is something that has, you know, in some ways made you even an outsider to the Democratic Party, even though obviously you run on a Democratic line. In my estimation, I assume it's it's probably felt like that's the easiest way to potentially win the office as opposed to a third party. But you are constantly thought of as an outsider, at least in terms of these elections. The big money doesn't get behind you. The big money searches someplace else. So one, tell us why that, like, why do you think you're not either A, you don't moderate your views to fit into what they say you should be. And then two, what I'm curious about also in some ways is like when you walk into a room full of Democrats, you know, the moderate Democrats, what is it what do they think about you? It's like polite conversation and they try to keep it moving. Like what happens in these rooms? Because you're squarely in the space of doing a lot of electoral work. Like obviously you talk about other policy issues, but part of your space is to do or to challenge in an electoral arena.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny, Kamal, that you say that because you and I travel the same path, and you know what it's like to be a Democrat who is.
I'm not a Democrat though. Just to be clear. Go ahead. No.
Well, to navigate these spaces where you're not always welcome, I'll just say that. I'm very much so an independent in my thinking, and that has been the problem inside of the Democratic Party with me personally. For those of you who may not know, I ran. This is not my first run for office, not my second, not my third, not my fourth. This is my fifth consecutive run for office. I ran in 2014, 2016, and 2018 for the Georgia State Senate. Came out of the gate, no name candidate, 37% against a staunch Republican who owned the district here in Georgia. I mean, had been there for many years. He was a threat at the Capitol. People were scared of him. Republicans themselves couldn't get more than 20-some-odd% against him. I came out of the gate, first time candidate, 37% against him. Came back again, 2016, 43.8% against this Republican. And here's where it goes south with the Democratic Party. My third run, after nurturing this district 3 times for a win, operatives inside of the Democratic Party primaried me. Now, mind you, I've been a Black woman, been Black all my life. I became the Black candidate in this white district. Now, all of a sudden, race was a part of my race in 2018. So they primaried me. And this is where I saw how racism exists not only in the Republican Party, and damn it, I'm not going to just call it out on one side, I'm going to call it out on the other. And I called it out, and I stepped on a lot of toes, but it was a race that was ran against me in 2018. So
let me stop you for a second. I just want you to speak more about that. So you said they primaried you. They primaried you with who? And for what you know, what was the reason that they targeted you, knowing that again you'd ran like you said, and sort of in it primed this race for you to eventually win with demographic shifts, with getting more voters. So tell us a little bit more about from what you know, like, so why didn't the party just get behind you?
Because I spoke the whole time. I am who I am. I'm not going to shy away from Black issues. I'm not going to shy away from issues that plague our community. I talk about us. You're not going to get me to talk about the whole community, all communities, and not talk specifically about Black people. I'm not. I'm always going to put us out there. I'm always going to have us on the forefront. So, that was part of, that's just who I am. And I think that just didn't sit well inside of the party. And this is where it bothers me, because we Black people carry the Democratic Party. If it wasn't for us being consistent as we are, the Democrats wouldn't be where they are. So you owe us, Democratic Party. So nevertheless, in 2018, her name is Sally Harrell, white woman. And they felt that she was more electable, quote unquote. She had run before, sat in the office before. She was white. The district is predominantly white, affluent. And all of a sudden, I wasn't qualified. Now, these 2 election cycles, these people in my district had voted for me. And she probably voted for me. But now, when they saw this was actually a winnable race, she was chosen. And that's what the Democratic Party does. They pick who they want to serve, not who we want. They pick who they want to serve. And they thought that she was more electable. And now she sits. She won. She beat me in the primary. Went on to hold on to Stacey Abrams' coattail in 2018, because Stacey Abrams at the top of the ticket, driving the Black vote. This white woman didn't have to do anything but show up and hold on. And that's what she did. She showed up. She held on. Stacey Abrams drove the Black vote. Black voters, we do what we normally do. We go to the polls. We look for the D behind that candidate's name. That's our candidate, no matter who it is. So she now sits in the Georgia legislature off of my work. But God is good. I was salty, and I absolutely should have been. I spent my life, my everything went into 3 consecutive races. But God had a plan. He sent me back to school. I got accepted to law school at Emory. I now hold a Juris Master's degree, where I've been able to concentrate on arbitration, mediation, and negotiation. God said, let's go get you some more preparation for where I'm going to take you. So this is how I know I am in my season. 2020 rolls around. God say, let's run again. So that's when I got into that race to replace Kelly Loeffler, Raphael Warnock, Kelly Loeffler, Doug Collins. These are $1 million candidates at the top of the ticket. 4th place, Deborah Jackson, who was a mayor who had mayoral connections around the state. 5th place, Matt Lieberman. Father was Joe Lieberman, senator out of Connecticut. The 5 ahead of me had millions of influence, but God had a plan. Coming in 6th place. I came in 6th place, over 100,000 votes, talking about reparations, talking about the needs of the Black community. Bridging the divide. I know that I am, because I have talking points that not only resonate with Democrats, but Republicans are hearing me too. And that's a whole nother conversation. I think we're on to something with reparations. As a matter of fact, I know we are. So here we are. Raphael Warnock sits now in the U.S. Senate. But God got a plan. I pray that it's just he and I in 2022, because we can go toe to toe, bro, on the issues.
It reminds me a little bit. I mean, it's some different circumstances, but the Democratic Party in Georgia, and this can of course extend nationally, has this history, particularly of targeting Black women, right, for removal or not allowing them to go into office unless they fit into a certain political spectrum of moderation. And so, I'm thinking a lot about the history of Cynthia McKinney, who was a left radical candidate, probably maybe the most radical representative that we've ever had, particularly from the Black community, other than some local politicians like a Charles Barron. They're on the same page, where she continually won her races. She got back into office. Obviously, her family had a history of electoral politics here in Georgia. And the more left she became, in particular, her challenging of Israel, her challenging on issues of reparations, and as you're saying, staying strong on issues of Black self-determination and making resources got the Black community, meant that the Democratic Party itself challenged her. So with that said, right, what makes you stay within the Democratic Party? If you know that the Democratic Party, right,
Mhm.
does not favor you, will do what it can to keep you out of office.
Mhm.
What stops you, let's say, from joining or starting a third party, as opposed to continually running on the line of the very same people who you know are out to get you?
Mhm. And I get that question all the time, and I always appreciate this question because that is where our people live. Our people, Black people, live inside the Democratic Party. They're not going to hear me anywhere else. They're not. And here's where because I'm Georgia bred. I've been here all my life. We never left my family. We never left the South. We never left the South. And the Democratic plantation, I don't know how to get my people to leave. I don't know how to get them to hear me beyond being a Democrat. And if I have to stay there to help us, then that's where I'll stay and that's where I'll fight. And I'll continue to fight the party to save our people. So that is why I continue to run as a Democrat, because I know that's where we are and that's where they're going to hear me and that's where they're going to receive me. So I'm going to stay there and fight. And hell, look, we are the Democratic Party. Who is the Democratic Party without us? Who are they?
It's the weird thing in Georgia, and again, this is probably true in a lot of southern states.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the Democrats are made up of Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, in a lot of these southern states, the Democrats, if they so wanted to, and a lot of times they decide not to, they could control the whole party. And again, here in Georgia, I used to work with State Senator Vincent Fort for a little while, and so I saw how they would purposely match a Black lead with a white lead, and they would keep a white person at the top of the Democratic Party ticket, even though all the votes were Black. And in their minds, they thought they were being strategic because they, again, didn't want to offend white folks, which constantly, again, this idea, even amongst things that are ostensibly, supposedly controlled by Black folks, right? But if you have the same mindset that you're playing this game of I'm going to be I'm strategically going to sort of wrestle around this issue of whiteness, and then they don't take over the party, right? They don't fully do some of the things that you've talked about, and even some of the things again that Cynthia McKinney has spoken about. Like if you take over the party, kick out the racist whites, knock down the liberal whites, right? Then it could be a place where, I mean, you still start to struggle around money, because once the white folks who give the money to the party know that you're really taking it over, they're not going to keep giving the money, but you still got your shell of a party, because that's going to be the case anywhere. But these folks still, they won't go that far as to sort of say, you know what, if we're going to really talk about issues of self-determination, reparations, resources to the Black community, then we can't keep letting these white folks condition us to say, don't be as Black as you want to be. And if you are, we're going to challenge you and we're going to primary you, right? So I, just want to put that out there. Tell folks how they can get in touch, how they can support your campaign, and even just know more about the work that you're doing in your campaign.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm gonna just kind of speak to that last comment that you made. I remind Democrats all the time that you are Black before you're Democrat. And I remind them of that. Like, you better remember you Black first. And when I say that, I think I ruffle some feathers, but it's okay. It's okay. And that's why I'm there, and that's why I run. But I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. You can find me at Tamara, TAMARA 4FOR, Georgia spelled out.com. And I'm on all social media as Tamara Shealy.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending this little bit of time with us. I really, really do appreciate it. And we plan to do more independent candidates, radical candidates, so that folks can see that there's more out there than sort of that traditional liberal mix that they tell us, who huddle around Joe Biden and let him talk down to him. So appreciate you, Tamara.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kamal.
Thank you. All right.
Right on. Very, very interesting. And this is, again, why I hope we do more of this and work with others in collaboration to expand these discussions. that, you know, there's a lot to be said and a lot more that we can consider, obviously. But the one thing I keep coming back to is that for all the people, because the question you asked at the end, I hear all the time, obviously, you know, and the response is often the same. We have to stay in the Democratic Party because that's where our people are. And I keep wondering, well, how many of our folks would stay there if all of those who tell us similarly to what we just heard, that we know there's an issue with the party and they did something else, maybe fewer of us would remain. But anyway,
no, I think it's an ongoing. I mean, I think it's an ongoing challenge. And again, you know, I think I made this point at one point a few months ago around the Jackson plan, and again the battle around when we were going to run Chokwe Lumumba for both city council and mayor. Was our big battle was whether or not we were going to start a third party, or whether or not we were going to run on the Democratic Party ticket. And unlike a sister like Tamara, who probably has some support, but maybe could not. I think the issue with Chokwe was far more like something that we could have confronted at that time because he had such a huge footprint in Jackson. But still, the dilemma or the discussion or debate points were basically what you just said. If we leave, is it possible for us to take a whole bunch of folks with us and start this new party and or run independent? And the challenge to it was, and I admit at that time I was on the other side of it, was if we do this through the Democratic line, because Black folks are conditioned to do it, there's there's almost a sure thing victory. And are we going to give up that sure thing victory potentially particularly talking about Chokwe as a candidate because of his age and so forth, potentially to run an independent party line or start a new party and then hope that we can use what we gain from there for future building. And I think, in retrospect, I was probably more wrong than not, right? Because, we flowed, we won the election. His son has now won the election after him. But when you run on a Democratic Party line ticket, you run as a Democrat, you start acting like a Democrat, and then you are pulled to do the things that Democrats tell you to do. Because if you do not, resources get taken away from you, you get chastised, you get put into a box, and then they always have, you always have in the back of their minds, you shift too much to a left or a position that we don't like, we're going to put somebody up and call you like, you're too Black, you're too radical, you're too crazy, you're too outside the box, we can't deal with you no more. And then potentially again, is because of the power of the Democratic Party and the money, even if we think we got the voters, a lot of times, Cynthia McKinney, no reason why she should not have had the voters, right? In terms of our estimation of who she is and what she's done. But that money, that power, that influence, bringing in national figures, meant that somebody who was as tied to the community as she was still lost, right? And so that's part of the dilemma that I think is still being faced.
Part of the thing with Cindy McKinney too is that they funded Hank Johnson, and like you said, that money changes the game, especially a place like Atlanta. You know what I mean? And that's what and it's unfortunate, something that Tiffany was talking about yesterday, as far as just politicians and entertainers. In a city like Atlanta, it's safe to say that Keisha Lance Bottoms was pushed over the top because of the fact that she had a lot of the quote unquote hip hop community and a lot of the actors behind her to really help her to surpass Mary Norwood. The case with what's her name that was running for governor out here, Stacey Abrams, with her issue, it was, she had all the heavy hitters, she had all these players, so on and so forth, and it was close. But at that particular moment in time, folks still had to recognize that we're in a very racist state of Georgia. And this was before the whole Trump situation. I think that had her run would have been, if that same run would have been after the last election with Trump, then she'd have stood a better chance. But, in Atlanta in particular, you literally have to start, you have to have a serious track record, or you have to start as local as possible. City council and so on and so forth, if you're going to have any type of real traction.
Actually, I'll say for Stacey, even though I don't like her politics, she in terms of what some people thought, she performed, probably as well as could have been expected, if not better, right? I mean, she came extremely close to beating Kemp in that election, which again added to taking out her particular brand of politics, her strategy of getting non-traditional voters registered to vote, making sure that other folks registered to vote. Obviously, there's the controversy around what the Republicans did in terms of not allowing certain people to vote or voter restrictions and so forth. One of the reasons that she's blown up as this particular star in the Democratic Party is because of that successful strategy. But I think the other thing is now they don't know what to do with her, because even though she's liberal left, Stacey Abrams, notice did not get picked to be the vice president candidate with Joe Biden, right?
She didn't pick to do anything with the Biden administration, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Even though she's got black folks behind her, right? Black woman, supposed to be the time of black woman, but Stacey Abrams is a black woman, right? She ain't a mulatto black woman. She ain't a half Indian black woman. She ain't a black woman that you can't say, dips and dabs in the black community. And again, I'm not down with Stacey's liberal politics, but you can still see the racism at play when it comes to saying this dark-skinned, heavier set black woman doesn't fit into our profile for who we want to represent a black community. And that's clear in the Democratic Party. And that's clearly part of the rationale for, like you said, why somehow she can't get what's the dude, the white boy, the gay white boy.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Buttigieg.
This dude gets
his name?
He gets a position.
Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete. He gets a position in the administration, the head of an agency. Stacey Abrams gets nothing, right? She's got to wait her turn again.
But that's the point, though. But see, that's sort of the point and why I keep coming back to where I end up is that if you have black support, that's not a positive in the Democratic Party. That they want black leadership that has no real connection or support in the black community, that is only there symbolically. That's how we got Obama. That's why Abrams is not one of the reasons. I think you laid out some other ones. One of the reasons why she's not picked to be where Kamala is, and probably will never be. If she has an actual constituency in the black community, that's not going to help her. This, I would say, also, by the way, extends to a lot of black punditry that is brought into those spaces. They have no actual constituency in the black community, which is why they're valuable. They're there in symbolism. They're there symbolically only, and that's it. So.
I think an error she made was even entertaining the Biden administration. I think if she'd have played cool and still tried to come back for that whole race in Georgia, the whole gubernatorial race in Georgia, she'd have stood more of a chance. But I think that by even jumping out there, it's like, look, I'm popular now. You know what I'm saying? I'm desperate. You see how good I did in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? But I think that was that was a wrong move. Again, I'm no fan. I agree with you, Kamal. I'm no fan of her politics. However, at the same time, yes, she did come close. But I think that she stands more of a chance after the presidential election than she did.
What happened to all those visible black women around Joe Biden towards the beginning of his presidency? That I just don't see him no more. Like, I don't see Kamala like that. I don't see Simone Sanders like that. I don't see, what was the Haitian sister's name? Corinne Jean-Pierre, something like that.
Isn't she the press secretary, or?
I thought the white girl with the bad dye job was the press secretary, Jen Psaki, right?
But I thought the Haitian, I did think the Haitian sister. See, I remember it similarly that I thought she sacrificed the public role for some behind the scenes role, which I also thought was part of the
told to sacrifice the public role for the.
But it's wild to me because I think the Haitian sister, as tragic. You and I, none of us know her name, but we just calling her the Haitian sister. And everyone knows what we're talking about. But the Haitian sister, like Simone Sanders, I feel like they sacrificed a lot of potential like social capital or community capital, because they thought that they were going to be the first. Like Simone Sanders thought that she was going to be, I guess, Biden's maybe chief of staff, because what she had a very high position on his campaign. And I thought the Haitian sister thought she was going to be the first Black press secretary. And Joe Biden said, no, bitches, nope, not this time. Next
Deputy
time.
press
Thank you.
secretary. Deputy. Thank you,
Right there.
KD.
Keisha Lance
Deputy.
Bottoms in Atlanta. I mean, again, politics suck. But she came out early for Biden. She's like, fuck Bernie,
No,
fuck the
she
rest of
didn't.
them.
She came out for Bloomberg, didn't she?
No,
I thought
no,
all
no,
those
no.
Black mayors came out for
Keisha Lance
Bloomberg.
Bottoms came out really. In fact, if anybody was tiptoeing a little bit, you could say that Abrams, who has a history of getting money from Bloomberg, did maybe a little tiptoe. But no,
Bobby Rush put his whole foot in for Bloomberg.
He put his whole foot in.
That
I mean, it was like
one.
billions of dollars.
He was all up in that joint.
Speaking about the
Chairman
zeros,
Fred to Bloomberg.
zeros. But Keisha Lance Bottoms, she ran out, and knocked everybody else down to get it to jump up on Biden. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And she thought that was going to probably lead to some sort of new administrative seat. And again, it left her nothing, right? So, maybe after, she's bowed out gracefully, because Kasim basically elbowed her in the mouth. Jeez. So maybe, after it's all over, he's going to give her a position, but she's had to wait. And that's, and again, these folks are beholden to the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party leadership continues to tell you that you're going to have to wait. And I mean, wait a long line, wait. You know what I mean?
I think we need to be more Harriet Tubman with the Democratic Party and leave and bring folks forcibly with us if necessary, and stop saying it. Because if she had said the same thing, I got to stay on the plantation because that's where my people are, we'd be in trouble, right?
Shit.
So that's where I'm changing it now. I want to be a Harriet Tubman voter. I used to say Malcolm X voter. I'm going to say I'm a Harriet Tubman voter.
I think we need to be more of a Dessalines voter. You need more Dessalines voters.
Well, the thing is, like, there's so many people out here, Black and white voters and non-Black and white voters, who are now registered independents. There are more registered independents there are registered Republicans and Democrats. So I feel like, a lot of political organizing is leaving proverbial money on the table or votes on the table, because you looking out for them D's next to the voter rolls. No, there's a lot of people out here that are unaffiliated politically and are just waiting to be brought into a political organizing mechanism in order to get our candidates advanced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kamau, I was confused when she said y'all both was Democrats. I'm like, I ain't been around Kamau in a while.
Kamau jumped out on that one. He was like, hold up.
He's like, hold up.
It's when the future's like, let's not have labels. Let's not do labels right now.
Wait, get your
like,
pronouns
what?
right.
It's like, no. It's like, I know y'all, but I'm not with y'all. So on that note, another successful show.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Well done.
Seemed like it was short
Shout out to
today.
Sister May. Yeah, it was a little short for you.
Every
Shout
day
out to
now.
Sister May. Yeah, every day, right. And the ear doctor, of course, everybody in the chat.
Hold up. Before y'all
Jack-
go anywhere,
oh.
2 p.m. today,
What's
I will have our sister, Tierney Cherie. African Esquire. I got confused for a second. You talking about Harriet Tubman. 2 p.m. Riot Started TV. African Esquire will be live here on the broadcast talking about her book and talking about the child welfare system and how it is a slave system and what they're doing to try to keep us caged with that particular system. So check us out 2 p.m. Also, if you missed the Ward Churchill joint yesterday, 2 hours long, but go back and get that heat.
Thank you, M. Adams, for your super chat donation.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I agree with whoever was a Nat Turner voter. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Come out.
No,
I'm just saying more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love you
definitely
people tomorrow. Remix Morning Show.
Hasta mañana.
Out of here.